Hey, Truth Seekers, welcome back. Zach here. Today is November 4th, 2015. The big story in the mainstream media is that the death of this officer, Joe Gliniwicz, is by suicide. On September 1st, it was reported that he was murdered, and there was a massive manhunt in Illinois for three men. Schools were closed, people were made to stay in their homes, many roads were shut down. It was like martial law in this area surrounding Fox Lake, Illinois, in a search for phantom suspects. Think about it, Truth Seeker. At the time, I did a video showing that this story was a hoax by the numbers. I will show you how today's update is a hoax continuing off of the same number pattern we witnessed September 1st in the first video I did. Before we get to that, I want you to watch this mainstream coverage, see how this man goes before the public and lies. From listening to what he says, it sounds like there might be a lot of fraud going on in Fox Lake Police, and perhaps this story is a cover up, an excuse to place all the blame for the fraud on this man who is now supposedly dead. I don't have all the details, but what I can show is that this is very deliberate lying and this is very deliberate hoaxing by the numbers, which is what is always going on in the mainstream media and what I continue to reveal post after post. Here we go, Truth Seeker.
Investigative partners, we're here this morning to wrap up the investigation into the death of Lieutenant Charles Joseph Gliniwicz. This extensive investigation has concluded with an overwhelming amount of evidence that Gliniwicz's death was a carefully staged suicide. We have determined this staged suicide was the end result of extensive criminal acts that Gliniwicz had been committing. In fact, he was under increasing levels of personal stress from scrutiny of his management of the Fox Lake Police Explorer Unit. We have the highest degree of confidence in the facts which led us to this conclusion, which Lake County Coroner Dr. Rudd will confirm. In addition, we have concurrence of our investigative partners, federal, state, including the FBI, their Behavioral Analysis Unit, and the ATF. With those partners, our investigation strongly indicates criminal activity on the part of at least two other individuals. Because that part of the investigation is open and will be ongoing, we will have no further comment on that aspect of the investigation. Here's a brief summary of the important elements of the investigation which led us to these conclusions. Further elaboration and further detailed information regarding these facts are provided to all of you in your handouts. The investigation found Gliniwicz had been stealing and laundering money from the Fox Lake Police Explorer post. This had been occurring over the past 7 years. Gliniwicz was also found to have forged signatures and official documents. Thousands of dollars were used by Gliniwicz for personal purchases, travel expenses, mortgage payments, personal gym memberships, adult websites, facilitating personal loans, and unaccounted cash withdrawals. The documents discovered with forged signatures were requisitions for federal surplus equipment and official Police Explorer documents. We recovered electronic messages that were deleted from Gliniwicz's personal and work cellular phone, including incriminating statements that had been deleted prior to his suicide.
So there's the official story, making it sound like he is quite the villain. Notice that most of the pictures of him were in the military, and then they had that one shot where it looked like it was showing his head and collar, and it might have been part of a police uniform. No real solid photos of him, though, as a police officer, which is another common theme in these police shooting-related hoaxes. This story comes out of Fox Lake, Illinois. Fox Lake has that gematria of 74, like Masonic. It is the Freemasons who control the police departments, who control the media, who are behind so much corruption in this nation. And they are the people who code using gematria, the practice of putting numbers into words. This man's name, it was listed in the media as Joe Gliniwicz and also Joseph Gliniwicz. Notice that Joseph Gliniwicz has gematria of 91. The shooting was reported on September 1st, 9/1, and a massive manhunt ensued, gematria of 91. From September 1st until today, November 4th, is a span of 9 weeks, 1 day. It's also 64 days, and if you're new to my work, I show how in every single police officer shooting hoax, the numbers 64 and 46 are coded within. The word hero has a gematria of 46. Sometimes I speculate that that's the reason we see so many 46s in the hoaxes. Notice this is the reflection, 64. They're not making this guy look like a hero anymore. They're making him look like a villain who killed himself because he was such a bad person. But what I want you to notice is how all of the details of this story are by the numbers. And let us not forget, they locked down a town for almost a week searching for 3 phantom suspects. You know, definitely something fishy going on here. Some real corruption. With regards to the gematria of 74, November 4th in Pythagorean gematria sums to 74, like Fox Lake, like Masonic. Also, suicidal. It's been a common theme in a lot of ridiculous stories this year. Plane pilots, cops, more. Suicidal and police have that coded gematria of 33, a very important number to the Freemasons, one that we find often in the hoaxes. Here's the report from September 1st. They were showing images of the manhunt that was underway, filling us in on the details, telling us about how people are locked in their homes. Remember that the name Joe Gliniwicz also has a connection to the word police in Jewish gematria, adding to my theory that he's a fictional character for a cover-up. You know, it sounded like the story today, the blaming on Joe Gliniwicz is a cover-up for the truth. Maybe that's part of how these stories are waged, to cover up real problems, create a fictional problem, distract from the real problem. The day after this story, on September 2nd, there was the story about an officer being shot. There was a manhunt for people in a vehicle. And then the next day it came out that that's not really what happened. What happened was the officer shot his own vehicle. This was September 2nd, the day after September 1st. This is in Millis, Massachusetts. Millis and Fox Lake have a connection in gematria. Millis equals 74. Show you this on the calculator. Millis, 74, Fox Lake. Whenever they give us these police hoaxes, they always have the most Masonic numbers coded into them. Ongoing theme, proof of who is responsible. The spokesperson for this one was Sergeant William Dwyer. The gematria of Sergeant William Dwyer is 74. What else? They had this guy on laughing, saying he couldn't believe anything like this would ever happen. Bob Bernardo, name gematria of 74. Remember, they're in Millis. This town was 74 gematria. In the background, there's 115 up here. You know what I think that's a tribute to? The plural of Freemasons. The network of Freemasons who hoax us and laugh at us like Bob Bernardo. You know? Then the final witness was Nick Elias, who had named gematria of 47, the reflection of 74, also like Millis. So redundant, these people, truth seeker. Hoaxing by the numbers. The town of Millis went on to have a parade to support the police in spite of the stunt against them by their own police department. Which is something I don't doubt for a second, you know? The people of this nation, they are sheep, they don't learn, they fall for this false, predatory, divisive, deceptive news over and over, and anytime somebody tries to tell them the truth about it, they get angry, you know? They shoot the messenger while falling back on their knees for the mainstream liars. So that's pretty much my message. Just wanted to show you how this story was contrived, why the information was really released today. It doesn't have anything to do with an investigation. It has everything to do with these Masons operating by the numbers. You know? Until next time, Truth Seeker.